Well, hello there. I am Mark LaJoy, and this is the very first episode of the Living Waters podcast. And by the way, that song that we use for the intro, Sing to Jesus, is from our latest album, Overflow. We are probably going to be talking about that album a lot as we start out, just to warn you. It's our very first full-length studio-produced album, but Living Waters started way back in 1976, and that's why we're doing this podcast, because it's not just about the music, it's about our history, our faith family. To be clear, what we intend to do here is to share not just songs, but also the stories, the history, the creative process, our faith, certainly. That's the main reason. Faith that saved us and made us a family. I want to thank you for taking the time right now, for making the choice to listen. We know there are so many choices you can make, so we don't take it for granted that you chose this. We want you to consider yourself now a member of the Living Waters family, because God's flowing grace has somehow reached out to you, led you here. Welcome. Blessings. The first thing we should probably do is talk about our basic early history, especially if you don't know anything about us at all. We should start there. For some of us in the group, it started way back in the early 70s, actually. Many of us as young teens came from all over the state of Maine. We met at a retreat house in my hometown of Augusta. I was a young teen in real trouble. I was greatly damaged. I'd lost my faith. I'd stopped going to church. I'd become an atheist. I was suicidal. But then I reached out to God in desperation, and guess what? He answered me. He answered me. Now, that's a whole other story that we can probably describe in one of these episodes. But what happened was, not only was I healed, not only was I given hope and a new life, but God's Holy Spirit led me to a whole family of friends in very short order. At this retreat center, I met a bunch of teens and their families from all over Maine, the Borks, the Gagnons, the McBrides, the Rossignols. That means Dave Bork, Mike McBride, Danny and Jimmy Gagnon, Chuck Rossignol, and more. We'll let you know more about each of us as we go on, I'm sure. So here is these young teens. We got together to pray, to laugh, to play music. We realized that all of us had some sort of talent that meshed together in a beautiful way, like it was meant to be. It was an awesome thing, absolutely beautiful. And some of us moved down together to another retreat house down in Massachusetts, and we became a live-in community. And there is where we met some more friends. And as soon as we met them, it was clear we were meant to be together. And finally, in 1976, that was the year. That was the time we made it official. We chose our name, set our lineup, began booking concerts, began attracting all the future core members of the group and others. Eventually, we started doing a lot of concerts and retreats. We were inspired by several things, including Christian music, Christian rock, some of the other music at that time. We went to go see the band Lighthouse out in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and we began imitating them. We became a full production of music, dance, drama, lighting, had a huge sound rig. We used to travel in our converted school bus. We took all the seats out of the back so we could fit all of our equipment in there. We played all across the Northeast in the United States, hundreds of concerts, including Yankee Stadium one time, the World Marriage Encounter Convention, the Hartford and Providence Civic Centers. And so We begin to develop a very unique Christian rock style in our concerts that most people described as uplifting or inspirational. A lot of people noticed there was something special about our music. Now, there were many highlights as the years went on. We should probably mention we performed with John Michael Talbot and with Donna, the Irish singer. Our song Peter the Rock was presented by U.S. Ambassador Ray Flynn to Pope John Paul II. And that song was blessed by the Pope, and he sent us a letter of blessing. We still have. We also supported and performed for the runaway kids at Covenant House in New York City. We did a lot for them. Nowadays, we call this human trafficking, right? Eventually, we became a real family of faith. There are many marriages within the group, and some of us are godparents to each other's kids, and the kids call us older ones aunt and uncle, even when we're not directly related. Do you see what I mean? It's a family. We prayed for each other all these years. We've really been there for each other when we needed each other, and we're still in contact. Recently, we've had some pretty amazing success on the internet starting around 2011. We gathered and salvaged a bunch of the old songs and old recordings, and we've been busy creating and recording a bunch of new music or new versions of old music like we did on this latest album, Overflow. And this summer, we're doing the same thing. We're doing some more recording. So even though we started in 1976, we are not over. We're still going. We really ought to let you know the classic band lineup, I guess, right? So you can become familiar with us. There was myself, Mark LaJoy, a lead singer, a main composer. I'm known for my 12-string Ovation acoustic. Mike McBride, who's the other main composer, keyboard player extraordinaire, very talented. In the early days, Mike and I would help each other arrange the songs for the band. So musically, Mike and I were a team. Tony and Denise Vassell. Tony's our drummer. The first couple of years, Jim Gagnon was our drummer, but then Tony came along. He loves jazz. His style really melded with the band perfectly. And he married our lead female vocal, Denise, and she has such a strong, beautiful voice, which you'll hear today as I play a song for you. Dave Bork is our dexterously amazing bass player. Sings upper vocals, always used to take charge in packing the bus in our touring days. And of course, Greg Lowell, who joined us a couple of years after we started. And what an amazing lead guitarist he is. Not only that, but I think we've come to realize he has an amazing musical sense that's guided us all this time. We have to mention Jim Babish. He was sort of a father figure to us through most of our years. He had mixed for the Young Rascals and for Up With People, and he became our manager for many years. He helped with our early recording. And then there's Peppy, Steve Pepitone. He ran our soundboard for most of our years. We've had so many others involved with us through the years, too. In recent years, Greg's son, Josh Lowell, has become our music producer, and he just graduated with a doctorate in musical production, and he is amazingly talented. Now, today, what I thought we'd do is take a look back at the beginning. This is the first podcast, after all. We might as well go back to the start, right? You know, we started, after hearing Lighthouse, we started covering some of their tunes and some other tunes. We did some of my early meditation type songs, but as far as group songs. They were covered songs. But then we started writing our own songs. Probably the earliest example is what we played in our intro, Sing to Jesus. Very simple song that we wrote, and we did it as a group. Probably the next big one is Light of the World. Light of the World. And we luckily, we have some early versions of that. And I thought that I'd play you a little clip of it so you could hear it. And so let's take a listen to this excerpt. It's pretty primitive. It's probably from the late 70s, right when we started. And it sort of lets us be sort of like you were there, right? You can sort of go back in time and be in the audience and hear what we're doing. And after we play that excerpt, I'll play what we did in our latest album where we took the same song and did it again. But for right now, let's take a listen, shall we? Here's Light of the World.
Not seen and ears not heard what God's revealed to us in His Word. Have you heard? Hope you have. Sing Hosanna, Hosanna to Jesus. He's the one who is going to lead us
to life. Wow. That is very early on. It's like you are there back in the late 70s or whenever this was recorded. And we're going pretty fast. We used to call that concert speed or warp speed. Pretty amazing. Well, on our Overflow album, we redid the song, and it's probably the truest to the early time. All the same people are playing their same parts. We just love this. So without any further ado, please listen to Light of the World from our album, Overflow.
When I look at myself and at others, it seems that no one really bothers to love. But when I pray, I can see God revealing, and now I'm really believing we'll be the light of the world. Sing Hosanna, Hosanna to Jesus. He's the one who is going to lead us to life. To life. So lift your hearts and your voices to heaven. Jesus calls us to be His leaven and salt, the light of the world. I can see everybody reviving. I can see everybody striving to love. To love. So lift your hearts and your voices to heaven. Jesus calls us to be His leaven and salt, the light of the world. Sing Hosanna, Hosanna to Jesus. He's the one who is going to lead us to life. To life. lift your hearts and your voices to heaven. Jesus calls us to be his leaven and salt, the light of the world. Hey, I got something I want to say. You may listen or perhaps you may not. Just count the cost. Sing Hosanna, Hosanna to Jesus. He's the one who is going to lead us to life. To life. So lift your hearts and your voices to heaven. Jesus calls us to be his leaven and salt, the light of the world. Not seen and ears not heard what God's revealed to us in his word. Have you heard? I hope you have. Sing Hosanna, Hosanna to Jesus. He's the one who is going to lead us to life. To life. So lift your hearts and your voices to heaven. Jesus calls us to be his leaven and salt, the light of the world. Shine the light, 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 the light of the world, the light of the world.
Wow. How about that, huh? Did you hear all the stuff in there? You heard Dave playing bass in the beginning, that high part, right? And Tony, his very unique style is pretty evident there. Did you hear Denise singing? Greg and I, the guitar brother, we used to call, Dave, Greg, and I, we used to call ourselves the Guitar Brothers. So there we are. Yeah, it's a real treat to hear that. It's probably the one recording we did on Overflow that's closest to the roots, and yet it's got this new creation sort of thing going on again. It's great. Well, thanks for being with us. Can't wait till next time. And remember, if God's grace has come to you, let it flow. Let it flow.